you said you learned how to make histograms. Tell me something about a histogram. Anything you want. Any. Okay, no, that was really good, Danny. That's good. You do make intervals in order to make your histogram, and that's the base. That's your x-axis is your intervals. So very nice. So that's good. So Dustin, I'm just going around because I know you also have an awesome mic and you can use it. And you said you learned how to create a box plot and interpret a box plot. Awesome job, compare center, very descriptive. So I know you're typing. Mr. Trainer is talking. That's okay. Just don't talk to him. So Dustin, just tell me one thing about a box plot, anything at all, any aspect. So grab the teacher. Demetrius, how about you? Is your microphone working? Roth is helping him. Awesome. Thanks, Dustin. Okay, so this is Demetrius. So Demetrius, tell me one thing about a histogram. Okay, what kind of stuff? Like, how does the histogram measure your stuff? Like, what does it measure? Okay, so remember we talked about that. Always come prepared. Bring your notes when you come to these, right? Always try to come prepared. But Danny is right. She answered the question for you. It measures the frequency. So in order to, the whole point of having a histogram is that it measures frequency of how much something occurred. Okay. All right, Dustin, so you've typed one thing is the 5-number summary. Okay, so good. Again, the one thing I want to stress, every time that you are not able to contribute in a webinar, then, you know, because of your microphone or whatever, then I just really want to meet with you so that we can kind of troubleshoot that. But that way it doesn't keep happening week after week because it just takes a lot of time. So really thanks you guys that are working on your microphone and getting that worked out and participating. That's awesome. And these webinars are for you guys. So the more that you can contribute and be efficient, the faster we can get through it and the faster we can get through your questions too. So be an active participant, you know, respond when you can. And if you don't know, you know, just say, I don't know, or make a guess. It's better to make a guess. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to compare box plots. And then we're going to answer any questions about the material, but you guys didn't really seem to have too many questions about the material. And then Israel and Demetrius, you guys really need to get working on the material because this is week 5 and there's only 9 weeks in the quarter. So you can't pass by only doing like a week of material. You really need to do most all the weeks, just to let you guys know. So whatever questions you have, whatever help you need, that's why we're there in the lab. I can help you. Down here, Stephen Kenny is available at Central again. Also, Ms. Jacquaz there, and Mr. Roth is really good too. So a lot of the teachers can help you. Just remember to make a plan for how you're doing your coursework and make sure that you touch math every single day because that will help you be successful. Anyway, so I pretty much addressed all this. The other thing is that you should always check your Schoology grades to read my feedback. And so if you've got a U, don't just leave the U. Make sure you go in and click on the assignment and that you are actually checking my notes because I always give feedback. So check those and then go back and redo anything you need to redo because if you get a U, it's almost like you didn't even do it. So make sure you do that. And then just know too that your actual class grades are not the grades in Schoology because somebody could do like 3 assignments and do really well on those, and Schoology could show an A. Sorry, and Schoology could show an A, but if it's been 5 weeks and you've only done 2 assignments, you actually have an F. So make sure you go to Infinite Campus, and that's where you can find your real grades. And some of you guys don't know this, but when you go into Infinite Campus, if you click on Schedule and then click on your class from there, you can see all the detail. And I put every single assignment into Infinite Campus so you can see your grade on every single assignment. It's a good summary too. So, all right, you guys, any questions about So if there's no questions, you guys, then let's actually go ahead and compare some box plots. So I want you guys to do this in your notepads. We have 2 box plots, right? And this is one of our assignments in one of the weeks. I think it was just last week, actually, and I just wanted to go through it because people really struggle with comparing box plots. But in both these stores, this represents service time for 2 fast food restaurants. And I just want you to take what you know about box plots, right? Take what you know. And Dustin said it's a 5-number summary. That's really good, Dustin. And I want you to write observations about these 2 stores. So I just want you to think about it, write any observations that you have. There's not necessarily any wrong answers, but when you're making those observations, do it as a comparison. You know, what do you notice about store 1 compared to store 2? And this is what we're going to do today, when we'll discuss that after everyone has jotted some ideas. So you guys go ahead and start. You know, take about 3 minutes or so and type some things. So good, Danny, you're already off and running. That's awesome. And you're making some observations. Good. And even if you don't know a lot about box plots, you can kind of look at that and make some general observations. So do your best. Okay, you guys only take about 30 more seconds and try to wrap it up, because I see that all you guys have done a really good job of putting some information down. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and then this will be the main root of your discussion for this week too. All right, you guys. So start with Danny, because you were first. You said you don't know a lot, but it looks like the second store has more service time than store 1. So you're saying it takes more time to service customers at store 2 than store 1. So Danny, let me just ask you, what made you say that? I was just curious. Guess that because you saw the bar was longer. And it reached, and you can talk too, Danny. You don't have to type it all if you don't want to. You did was talking. And it reached out to 6. Oh, Mr. Trainer again. And he is talking with Mr. Roth. Okay. And the conference room is full or busy. Okay. So you were looking at the bar and it was longer, and that's why you thought store 2 had a greater service time, and that's really good observation, actually, really, really good. So awesome. So let's go to Dustin. Store 1 has a shorter service time than store 2. So you said the same thing, Dustin. So I'm just going to assume, yeah, Dustin, you can show me your notebook. That's totally fine, by the way. But anyway, so I'm assuming you kind of came up with the same idea as Danny. And it looks like everybody said the same thing as Danny. Okay, so it's interesting that you guys only made that observation, because what about the maxes out here? 9.6 versus 6.3. What about the mins? 0.5, 0.7. I mean, those would be some things that, very good, Dustin, the outliers. Excellent. So those are maybe, this might be an outlier, this might be an outlier. So that would be one thing when you guys are looking at these. Obviously, look at the length of the box. That's number 1. Also, one thing too with that, just so you guys know, that whatever's inside this box represents 50% of the data, right? So if we're talking about service times, the majority of store 1 service times fall between 1.8 minutes and 2.9, okay? Whereas in store 2, they fall between 1.1 and 5.7. So that is something definitely to look at. If you look at store 1, most of their data is clustered. It's very small. It's in between 1.8 and 2.9. So if you go to store one, there's a 50% chance, right, that you're going to be served within that time frame. Whereas if you go to store two, there's a 50% chance that you're going to be served anywhere from 1.1 minutes to 5.7. Now, if you really needed to be served quick and you're willing to take that risk, you might choose store two because they have a smaller minimum, right? And at the bottom part of that box is 1.1, so there is that chance you could be served before people at store one. However, the other problem with store two is that their high part of 50% is at 5.7 and their outlier is way up here at 9.6. So if you were that unlucky customer that got stuck here, you could be served later. So anytime you have a situation like this, it's more widely dispersed. We've talked about that before. And because of this outlier, like Dustin said, the outlier, there is that chance that you could end up being served, after almost 10 minutes. So kind of the key things to hit on, just to recap, is, the length of the box. If the box is really close together, that means the majority of their numbers, their data fall within that box, at least 50%. So that is going to be more normal than out here, which it's more spread out. So you have a chance of being served anywhere from 1.1 to 5.7 minutes. It's very spread out. Okay, so guys, I just want to find out if there's any questions at all before I end the webinar. Dustin, no. Oh, you put two questions. Oh, wait, Danny, where's your notepad? Oh, let me go. Let me scroll down. I just did not scroll down. So whatever is inside the box only represents, yep, it does actually, Danny, it does represent 50% of the data falls in there, which is the majority of the data. That means there's only 25% on the left side and 25% on the right side. So that means like the majority, half at least, falls within that box. And so what did you say? You said since store two has a longer time, wouldn't that mean it would take longer to be served? Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. It probably, most likely, it would take longer to be served at store two. But if you'll notice at store two, if I go back over here real quick, Danny, if you'll notice at store two, though, they do have the shortest wait times in here, but the chance of you being that customer that was lucky enough to get the short wait time is pretty small. So you probably want to go with a more consistent store, and that would be store one. All right. So I'm going to give you guys your ticket out question, and I did actually put it in the discussion. Yes, that's right, Danny. Yeah. Okay, so for you guys to ticket out, and you need to go in and do this right now while it's in your mind because we've just talked about it. I just want you to write in the discussion what are some things you should look for when comparing and analyzing two box plots. So answer, explain that within the discussion in Schoology. That's your ticket out, right? That gives you credit for the webinar. You can't get credit for the webinar until you actually post that because that's where I post your grade from. But then make sure to go back in and respond to two other people's posts. If you don't do that, then the highest you can score is a PP instead of a P or even an advanced. So if you do a really good job comparing and analyzing, explain some things you should look for, and you've gone back in and responded to two people's posts, you have an opportunity to earn an advanced and for sure a proficient. So, all right, you guys, any final things? Any questions about the discussion at all? All right, Danny, no, you're looking good, okay. Danny, you're typing a long thing. Yep, just go do the discussion. You're good. All right, you guys. Thank you very much. And I shall see you guys all next time. Yep, I'll see you tomorrow, Dustin. Sounds good. Bye, Demetrius. Bye, Danny. Israel, I don't know if you're still there, but I'm assuming. Ah, you are. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.